Hello, hello. Do you ever think about the fact that hello has hell in it? I really don't like that word that much. Anyway, today we're gonna jump right this episode. This is a very special one for me. This is one I wanna use to just slap Gary in the face with. So I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. None of that usual rambling. Let's start with the basics. R-O. The two letters. Together, they are both 33 in numerology. R is 18, O is 15. 18 plus 15, 33. 33 is the number of influence, the master number of influence. Gary is a 33, is a pure 33 snake, and 7 energy, I think. He's born on the 7, right? Yeah. So he has this whole spiel, this whole shebang about RO. But I have some additions which I really want to complete. First of all, you have the Rothschilds and the Rockerfellers. These people are like, in the conspiracy circle, they are like legends, and not for a good reason. But you should know them by now. Basically, the Rothschilds built the state of Israel. The Rothschilds are responsible for all the monetary policies that we see nowadays, and they are also responsible for pasteurization of dairy, which literally one-shotted the West. They literally one-shotted the West with that one. And the Rockefellers basically built their empire on Standard Oil, the company. It's not even a company. It was a monopoly. It was a literal monopoly complete with railway monopolies. Like, they owned everything for so long. And even when they split it into 4 different companies, like Chevron and Exxon, and I'm forgetting now the details exactly, but even then, it was still monopoly. And I want to explain you why it was a monopoly. So energy is the literal paradigm of this world. Sorry. And today's energy is literally oil. We run on oil, the black blood of the earth. Standard Oil basically consolidated the war of paradigms between Edison and Tesla. Because with Tesla, you would have atmospheric energy, wireless energy. And the paradigm would be different. The devices would be different. Life would be different altogether. But with Edison, you have wires. You have direct currents. You basically have... Let's just tell it what it is. You literally have people claiming monopoly over the resources of Earth, burning them. That act generates literal electricity through heat discharge. And the electricity gained from those finite resources being burned is then being transported on an infrastructure of cables and transformers, that each transformer gets the signal full power and tones it down a little bit, and then it goes into other power lines which go into cities, and then it goes into another transformer which then tones it down a little bit more, which then goes into the households, and you get your plugs in your home. And by the way, the laptops, the chargers, the everything you use in those plugs, they use another transformer to tone down the signal. So basically, they literally just cemented their monopoly on energy and on the knowledge of humanity on how this energy is being used and how it is leveraged to make the economy that makes up this world, basically. It's all about control, you see. It's literally all about control, because they sit on this knowledge, they sit on this wisdom, they sit on the solutions, they sit on the alternatives, they sit on the patents, they sit on everything, and they just don't tell you because they rule this world. Obviously, they want to keep their positioning. Obviously. Okay. So we have the Rothschilds and Rockerfellers. Rothschilds, which I also told you, they are responsible for making the current state of Israel. And it goes back even deeper. You know, I'm not really against Israel. I don't like the things they do, but I don't fucking care. I don't care anymore. What am I gonna do? Go there, get crucified again? What am I gonna do? But we have to talk about that. I already started with the RO. We have to talk about the Romanovs. The Romanovs were basically the Christian Orthodox monarchy that ruled Russia, and they were bordering the Khazarian Empire, which is now modern-day Ukraine, which is a country that should not really exist. But that's for another that's for another time. They bordered the Khazarian, and they were also the small hat tribe, you know, the Khazarians. And these people really hated Christians. Like, they hated Christians so much. They still do, but they hated them so much that they literally started this movement of Bolsheviks, right, with Lenin in front, and sold off the idea of the proletariat, the common folk. You know, it was kind of the precursor of the emotional manipulation for democracy, the weaponized empathy that this world uses to get this agenda going forward. Jesus. But they basically took over the Orthodox monarchy of Russia, and they literally, well, they literally patented the blueprint of communism, inspired by Marx and inspired by Hegel, using the Hegelian dialect. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. If you don't know what the Hegelian dialect is, it's basically, if you choose the right side, it's wrong. If you choose the wrong side, it's wrong. Like, all sides are controlled. This is what the Masons also believe. If the people want a hero, they shall supply them one, so that they can keep their control. Anyway, coming back. We have the Romanovs. The Romanovs fell, and then the Khazarians raised. They made communism. Their parliament was speaking more than 80% Yiddish, because you know their nationality, I just told you. And yeah, man, it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy because they always go after the Orthodox Christians, because the Orthodox Christianity is the one that never really expanded. It just anchored the way it was. Supposedly. What do I know? Anyway. So we have the Romanovs, we have the Rothschilds, we have the Rockefeller. All these people are connected, and I will tie the pieces at the end. We also have a nice little country that's nearby Russia nowadays. It's called Romania. It starts with RO again. This is by no chance. And you will see why. You also have the term of royalty. You know, all these start with RO, and it's by no chance. Trust me, it's by no chance. And finally, well, as a side note, I don't really have that much to say about that. This will be covered in the episode about transhumanism, which I assure you is coming. I have a lot to talk about that. But robots also start with RO. But this is for the future. Now I want to focus on something else now. So we have Rothschilds, Rockefellers, Romanovs, Romania, robots, royalty, and finally, which is probably the most significant RO of all in its impact. Well, not really. The first two were pretty significant, but it is significant for you, the listener, because you are listening right now on an infrastructure facilitated by the reverse engineerings from this location. I am talking about Roswell. Roswell was the place in New Mexico, I think, where one or two or I don't know, some alien crafts fell, and the military, the US military got them, and they started to reverse engineer the technology. Some people say that they even, the Greada Treaty with Truman. I don't know if that's true, but what I do know, following the footsteps of causality, let's say, what I do know for sure is that we jumped in technology so much and so fast. And I remember thinking as a kid, I'm over 30 now, a bit over 30, but I remember as a kid thinking, it feels like magic. Like we never had fiber optics before that, and suddenly it just pops up. Just like with Tesla, and after he died, his patents became the property of, I think, Trump's uncle, or no, not his uncle, his great-grandfather or something, but someone in the Trump family. And afterwards, they waited a few years, and suddenly these patents started to appear with the earthquake machine or weather modification. Anyway, it's also tiring, but coming back, we have Roswell. Roswell is probably the most important one because it laid the foundation of the alien technology, quote unquote, that we are using today. Again, the fiber optics is one of the prime examples. It's kind of wild to think how technology evolved from literally just flying and into fiber optics and 5G and all this stuff, and nanomaterials and non-Newtonian fluids, and well, I don't know. Anyway, so we have all this. I want to come back to the number 33 itself, the RO, right? Why is the 33 relevant? Well, I found out 4 major reasons. The first one, of course, if you are a Christian, Christ died at 33. It's a very symbolic number. If you are a doctor, if you know anatomy, then you are also aware that the human spine has 33 vertebrae. And it kind of looks like a stairway, One would even imply that the body is the temple, and this is the stairway to heaven, and really the anointing oil might be the cerebrospinal fluid that goes into the spine. It climbs up. It also coincides with the Kundalini snake, energy-wise, the energy rising. And this cerebrospinal fluid basically has to pass through 7 harmonic chakra locks. And in between those locks, because, we have 7 chakras, in between those locks, there are granthis, or knots. And each human must go through an individual process in which they go within. They know themselves. They really, really know themselves and get to know their higher self, talking through them and aligning through them. And supposedly, they clear out all these knots. They clear out all the passages, all the locks in the chakra, points, I guess. And if they do that, if the signal can pass through upwards with no distortion, it literally reaches the enlightenment. And once again, I'm telling you that ment in Latin means mind. And you have enlighten plus ment, which is very interesting, as opposite to government. This is just etymology. I'm not judging anyone. This is literally just etymology, and I'm explaining language. So, yeah. Okay, so we have the 32 vertebrae. We have the age Christ died. And we also have the Masonic Builder Guild. They have 32 degrees, which is also symbolic. Another thing with Masons. We're coming back to royalty here, right? These people really revere King Solomon, the builder, because he built the first temple, right? Or some temple. But basically the Masons are the guild of stone masons that were the builders. This is why they have the checkerboard tiles, you know? It's tilers, like a tiler builds. Which is a little throwback to Discordians, but it's another episode, not for now. Anyway, the fourth interpretation of the number 33, which I think is crucially relevant to our cause and, well, my argument here at least, is that Mount Hermon is literally located at 33 degrees latitude. And I literally just told you that the Masons have 33 degrees in their organization, I guess. So what is Mount Hermon? Well, I think Mount Hermon is extremely relevant for two reasons, and two reasons alone, for me. The first reason is that it is the location where the fallen angels, according to the Book of Enoch, I like that book very much, by the way. I like Enoch very much. But according to the Book of Enoch, Mount Hermon is where the fallen angels, back when Lucifer took a third of the heaven and rebelled against God, Mount Hermon is the literal location where they made their pact. Like, they all cemented the fact that, yeah, we're gonna rebel. Fuck you. You know? And, yeah. It's literally the location where they made their pact and they upended it. And as a result, the UN also has a base there. Did you know that? I find that very interesting. It's an observatory, they say, but come on. Something very interesting happened, and this is the second reason I find it fascinating. It was December 2024 for me, and I was writing a poem called Mad Villain Purpose. Mad Villain was a mega poem. I mean, it had multiple parts, and it basically read like a kind of little short story with a lot of rhyming. But in this poem, I hinted at myself through my higher self, because this is how I explore the connection with my higher self, through writing most of the time. I hinted at myself that I should really read a chapter in Revelation with this mountain stuff. And then I found that chapter. I do things on feelings. I don't know if you can notice that about me, but I do things on feelings a lot. And I looked up that chapter, and it was literally the chapter where Jesus transformed into light on a mountain and talked with Elijah and Moses. Both people were from out of his time. So he basically transfigured into light. Also showed John how he did it. Well, he showed John that he was light, not how he did it. But he did that on a mountain. He transformed into light, and he talked to two people that were not in his lifetime. That was basically timeline mechanics, if you ask me. It's just it's kind of ominous in a pretty amazing way. And I felt at that date to talk about that, and I have a timestamped photo, and I do have the proof. It was on 4 December 2024. I have the post on my Instagram story in the archive. But something interesting that happened was that a few days, I think 2 or 3 days afterwards, literally Syria was invaded by Israel. Well, it was the government fell. I don't know who invaded who, but Israel basically took the Syrian side of Mount Hermon for themselves, and Benjamin called it a historic day. It's. I will show you the collage I have with the quote unquote proofs, so you can tell me if this was a coincidence or not. But anyway. This is why I think Mount Hermon was very important. Because of the fallen angels angle and because of the 33 connection. Right? Okay. So let's sum it up. RO equals 33. I just showed you that 33 is the 33 vertebrae, the 33 Mason guilds, the 33 Mason ranks, I'm sorry, the age when Christ died, and the 33 latitude for Mount Hermon. RO also stands for Rothschild, Rockerfellers, Romanovs, Roswell, Romania, robots, and royalty. Now, let me paint you a picture from all these details that I just compiled to you to show you how numerology is really applied. Fuck that Gary. He's shallow in this, and he hides stuff. I don't hide anything from you. Anyway. So we have King Solomon, the original builder, right? This is throwback to the Masons and the Builder Guild. King Solomon had 72 sigils that supposedly trapped demons that did his bidding. This was a gift from God, supposedly, because of his knowledge and all that. He had this ring that he used to control them, and supposedly they built the temple, not him. I mean, he was a king. He did not really carry stones, I suppose. But this King Solomon, the first builder, is very revered by all these people. Now, if you look at these 72 sigils, 72 demonic sigils, which, by the way, an interesting fact about this number, these 72 numbers, I think for Islam's it's 72 virgins after they die in heaven. I'm not sure, don't quote me on that, but interesting. And another fact is that they say, there are 72 names of God. But anyway, I want to circle back to the 72 sigils of Solomon, which were from individual demons. If you look at the sigils, at their design, like how they actually look, and if you pull up Google and just look up megalithic sites, like the pyramids seen from above, like the whole site, not just the pyramid, the whole site, you would... and if you also pull up a picture of a motherboard, you would notice some striking coincidences. Some really striking coincidences, which I thoroughly believe they were not by chance. It was not by chance. These sigils literally inspired the way in which we have built our technology, because magic can be of two sides, in my opinion. Magic can be internal, in the sense that you come to know yourself and your worth and your inherent royalty, because I mean, if you are listening to this, something resonated in you, and you probably are a royal bloodline, the Christ royal bloodline, which they try to erase. But anyway, that's for another time. And the other side of magic being external, making technology, making stuff external from us, separate from us. Like weapons, like war, like, stuff that can destroy. It's stuff separate from us. And I am kind of a big proponent of the big inner, but at the same time, I am talking to a microphone on a screen, and I am recording this, and it will get to you on YouTube with the internet, and wherever you consume the podcast and wherever I post this. So yeah, this it is relevant. So anyway, coming back to this, we have this technology, we have these devices that basically leverage the circuits that were inspired by these sigils. Fun fact, these sigils also inspired emojis. The stuff that you use now was literally inspired by the sigils, the literal emojis. They came through different iterations and progressions, but do some research, look it up, it's very interesting. I want to circle back to the time of the royalty, and I want to circle back to the fact that I am speaking English to you and you are listening to me talking in English. We are using English to communicate. If you have listened to the previous episodes, you know that I already I told you that I think I still do that we used to be telepathic and that we did not have language. And language is something else that we developed in the world that had no more trust. But I want to circle back to English. And English is a coded language. I also said that in the past. But do you know how and why is that? It's because of the fact that the royalty, more especially Queen Elizabeth, she had someone that really influenced how the fate of the world went, because the impact was so tremendous. It is felt even today, and it is still a dilemma left for us to solve. The social dilemma, actually, or me. Anyway, so I want to circle back to royalty, to Queen Elizabeth. She is the reason that we had colonialism to spread English being the coded language that it is and it evolved into. And now the reason beyond Queen Elizabeth, because she was not really, she did not act alone. The real reason is John Dee. And what he did is that he kind of perfected the art of scrying with he kind of perfected the scrying mirror itself, to be honest. The black scrying mirror. He had an obsidian mirror, which he was using for scrying, and he had an assistant that, they basically did what Aleister Crowley later did with his own disciple. The point is, John Dee was an astrologer and mathematician. He was the personal astrologer and mathematician of Queen Elizabeth when she was at her throne. Because Queen Elizabeth, as a woman, she did not really have the favor of the courts back then. Everybody was plotting against her, and she needed an advantage. So she took Dee. She really saw in Dee the advantage that nobody ever perceived. This is why, let me go back for a bit. John Dee perfected the art of scrying through his obsidian mirror, the black scrying mirror, right? And nowadays, our smartphones, which were made with the sigil technology from Solomon, they are suspiciously all black. Their screens, when they are off, they are all black, which I find it so interesting. And we also have the popular series Black Mirror, which exposes the dilemmas and the questions that we created ourselves by making technology the way it is. It's just... So we have this very interesting stone that, well, supposedly it opened the doors to other dimensions, and it's actually the stone on which Queen Elizabeth herself sat on, and supposedly this is where John the Baptist bowed his head and saw angels ascending and descending, which is... it's fascinating to me, to say the least. This stone is still located under the royal throne. These people have been using it for many years. And you know what? I find that fascinating, absolutely fascinating. Especially, and I want to go on a little tangent here. It's a story from the colonial times, when they settled, the Christian missionaries. They settled in Papua New Guinea. Those people were cannibals over there, They did not really... Christianity was very new to them. And in their tradition, they still had the village shaman. And the village shaman would be like the dreamer of the village. He would get the visions, and basically people would come to him, or to her, but usually to him, apparently, when they needed advice or a cure, or anything. He was basically the direction setter for the village. But after the Christian missionaries came, two things happened. And I have no idea which one was first, but two things happened. The first is that the shaman stopped dreaming. I find that fascinating. And the second one, which again, I have no idea which happened first and which was a causal determination of the other, but the second thing was that mostly the people from the village were coming to the Christian missionaries for advice, They were seen like the people that had knowledge nowadays. The shamans were basically rendered useless. And the fact that they stopped dreaming, I still think about that so much. Especially when you think about this stone, And especially when you think about the Masons being stone masons. That's how they started. And now they have this weird stone underneath the royal throne. Let's circle back to everything being said right now. RO equals 33, right? 33 is being an influence to humanity, to mankind as a whole. Is having influence. Right now, pretty much everyone has a smartphone or a black scrying mirror. We can conclude that through John Dee and through Queen Elizabeth, two things happened. English became the most spoken language, the most spreaded language, and also highly codified, highly coded. And that everyone basically nowadays has a black scrying mirror, and they interact with it daily. They post their face, their thoughts, it's the whole hyper reality, which is the internet, the life of the internet, takes place on these devices. These devices fuel our existence in here, in this place, fueled by electricity, fueled by the paradigm of electricity that was as a result from Tesla and Edison. And that itself, that battle itself, it was not a war, it was just a battle. That battle itself was a battle of remembering versus, and by remembering, I mean remembering the old world technology of free electricity, of atmospheric electricity and ether knowledge, versus what these parasites are now forcing us to, operate within. So RO is extremely, extremely important. 33 is extremely important. One detail I forgot to mention you was that John Dee's initial, if you would call it success, but I don't know. John Dee's initial achievement was that he scried with the fallen angels, the same angels that upended their pact on Mount Hermon, 33 latitude, remember. The same fallen angels, he scribed with them and took from them basically the Enochian alphabet. The Enochian alphabet is a series of symbols that we still don't know much about. And yeah, it did not end well. All these things, they never end well. Surprise, surprise. But you can see how all these things connect. A short deviation from the initial subject here, but I just remember that even in Lord of the Rings, the Palantir, it was a crystal ball, and it really kind of looked like John Dee's scrying mirror and the black scrying mirror that again we all have in our pockets. Even in the movie, it was used for telepathic communication and for scrying, you know. And it was also indestructible, which obsidian is also called dragon glass, and it's quite resistant. So I thought that detail was pretty fascinating. This podcast basically was, I'm not going to give you any conclusion. This is just the facts I presented to you. These are just the connection with the number 33. Oh, and by the way, the fall of Russia and the fall of the Romanovs specifically, it really started to tie in with the fall of Christianity as a whole, with the spreading of communism in the East and in China. It's a shame, you know? It's a shame. Because if you were to look at history, there is one group of people that have been notoriously mystic and isolated from the rest. It's the funny hat tribe, obviously, but they do have their power, they do have their knowledge, they do have their Kabbalah, they do have their elders that keep anchoring the pain of the past and refuse to even acknowledge that Christ existed. You know, the whole conflict with the funny hat people and the rest of the world, well, the Christians mainly, is that they just cannot reconcile that God literally spawned in this world. They just can't reconcile with the prophets, you know? And frankly, I have a hypothesis for why this is. First of all, it's trauma anchoring from the rabbis and the older generations that was kept anchoring, and they kept clinging to it like it was their own. And by doing this, they have made themselves attached to this matrix, to this world. And by attaching themselves to this world, to trauma and through karma and through all this stuff, obviously they developed some methods, and they got together with some of the entities and some of the Elohim, which, by the way, El means Elohim means many beings. This is what it means. And you know, they developed this, and they reverse engineered the astrology, and they reverse engineered all this knowledge and started applying it. In a way, I am kind of sinning because the fallen angels, one of the fallen angels gave humanity astrology. So I'm not really sure I'm supposed to do this, but at the same time, I was born here and I was not a perfect birth. I mean, I have plenty of generational trauma in my lineage, which I am healing right now. I'm the black sheep of my family, and I'm wearing all black currently. It's just, you know, it is what it is. I am born on the... I'll tell you. I'm born on the 13th. And while Christ died at the age of 33, in numerology, it's interesting that 13 is a hidden way to count 33. And especially for Masons, I want to also circle back and tell you some more details about this. We have the number 13 in the 13 families of the world, the Illuminati, whatever. Which, fun fact, I'm not even sure if it's true or not, but it is the lore. It is part of the official lore. 13 families. We have one Jesus and 12 apostles, 13 in total. Oh, by the way, these families are 12 families and one family that's supposed to be coming in the future, according to the lore. Anyway, we also have in America is probably the most coded. A lot of the teams, the sports teams, they have hidden 13s in their names. Charlotte 49ers, 4 plus 9, 13. Philadelphia 76ers, 7 plus 6, 13. And there are multiple names like this. They are all throwbacks to the 13. And you even have the 13th floor in the US. In most elevators, they don't even put the number, the literal physical number, in the lift, in the elevator. Which is wild. We also have Friday the 13th. All these movies that are meant to cover from the fact that 13 is a lucky number, and they try to make people fear it, and yeah, I'm not falling for that. And lastly, you also have the Sun plus 12 zodiacs, 13 in total. In America, you have one judge, 12 jurors, 13 in total. These are all nods to a hidden power of these numbers, of 13 and 33 specifically. And yeah, basically, they have their hands in everything, these people. And I just exposed to you how exactly it all ties together. So this has been the episode. I think I'm done for now. I think I mentioned... Oh, I almost forgot the most important detail. Romania. Why is Romania relevant? It seems like a small country in Eastern Europe, right? Which, by the way, I am Romanian, so... you can say that I am biased towards this country, but I'm just factual, I feel like. Why is Romania important? Well, to answer this question, I will not. I will actually ask you another question. Why does Romania have a sphinx on its mountains? It has only one mountainside, the Carpathian Mountains. But why is there a sphinx above the Carpathian Mountains? This is my question to you. Is this random? Are there more sphinxes in the world? Who knows? The point is, personally, I feel that Romania will be of crucial importance in the year 2026. I don't know when you are listening to this, but this is being posted in 2025, year of the snake. In the horse year, in the 2026 fire horse year, I think Romania will play a pivotal role. I am not going to reveal more details than this for now. But this has been the Deez Nuts podcast, episode 5. I really hope you enjoyed this one. I have no readings for now. I only did that one. So if you want a reading, if you want to, just get in touch with me anyway, anything, you can just write to me on the email on the screen, or just send me a message on open chat, oc.app. But yeah, that's it from me. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. This was a very special podcast to me, a very dear to my heart podcast. It has a lot of questions that I keep pondering about. And yeah, I'm giving you no conclusion. These are just details that I put together, and in my mind, they help solve the mystery of this world, so to speak. I want to end on a little wordplay, so to speak, so to say. Electricity, electric, elect-trick. One could say that electricity is used to, well, trick the elect. Electric. On this note, I'm out. See you in the next episode. Goodbye, people.